my dreams up to that point had simply been to find a love, to get married. I was very traditional. I thought, we'll get married, we'll adopt children, I'll sing in a cabaret somewhere and be a homemaker, and all that was dashed. The media began descending. This was in 1999, and that's when my life really changed in a public way, because the national media in America seized on this case. Don't ask, don't tell, the military policy against gays was being knocked back and forth. It was in the news a lot. A lot of LGBT, lesbian and gay activists saw this as a possible way to attack, that don't ask, don't tell policy. It put me in a strange position because the media wanted to call me his male lover, his drag queen lover, his, all sorts of sensationalist things. The gay and lesbian, activists, I don't think they had any ill intent, but they wanted it to be a gay relationship so that they could attack the don't ask, don't tell policy, and so that they could call it a hate crime and all these things. Meanwhile, I was just this young, foolish person who didn't have an education, didn't understand the way things worked, and I just needed help. It was a very rough time, I'll just say, but it got a lot of media coverage, not because I was putting myself out there saying, look at me, but because I felt like I needed to untarnish Barry's reputation, because people were saying terrible things about him. They were making fun of him. I felt like I owed it to our relationship to clarify what it was, and also I wanted justice for Barry. So I went to court every day. I, showed up at the rallies. I did the parades and the meetings and the politicians' things, and we did eventually get convictions of both of the killers, but one is a free man right now. One got a reduced sentence, and it's strange to think that you could cross paths with someone in a grocery store, who literally caved in your lover's head with a baseball bat, but he's a free man now. From there, from the visibility that came from that, after we convicted those murderers, I got called upon to speak on the process of my own transition of trans people that I knew, to try to help explain to colleges and universities and legal groups and medical groups. And I was okay at public speaking. I felt like because I was an actress and a showgirl and a singer, I'm comfortable, getting up in front of crowds and talking to people. I tried to respect his memory, to educate as well as I can with what I know, while never claiming it's the only way or the only experience. And basically, I just always say yes to everything. If there's a small town pride parade in Clarksville, Tennessee, which is a teeny little town, way out in the country, if I can get there, I say yes to it. If it's to show up at a PFLAG meeting or a LA Children's Hospital or anything, I just go. Because I want my life to mean something, and I want his life to mean something. And what I do for a living is silly. I sing and jump around and wear rhinestones, and I love that. It's my heart, and it's what I want to do. But I also have this opportunity to try to make things mean something, and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm glad that we can share this movie with a new country, perhaps, with new people, and if it can give any strength to anyone, if it can inspire anyone, if it can humanize the trans condition to anyone who's a decision maker or a family member, I'm grateful for all that. the movie's a great tragedy because it talks about a great tragedy, but the way it touches people's hearts, I think, has made a difference, and I'm glad that we could bring some good after that terrible tragedy. And I'm almost done talking here, and then you can ask any questions if you have any, but I've had the opportunity to work with Eve Ensler, who wrote the Vagina Monologues, along with Jane Fonda, to try to build bridges from the trans community into the larger community of women's issues. Because I feel like women's issues are trans women's issues, and trans women's issues are women's issues. So we put on the first all-trans Vagina Monologues in Los Angeles to raise money to fight violence against women and girls. We've done work with Eve and Jane for a number of charities in New Orleans at the Superdome to raise money to support the female victims of Hurricane Katrina, which was a devastating natural disaster we had. And you know, I've tried to take opportunities to build bridges as much as I can. Sometimes the community feels like it needs to split into ever smaller groups and build walls, and sometimes it does help to be around like-minded people and catch your breath a little bit, but I want to build so many bridges that eventually it's just a big flat surface and we're all on a level field together, I hope. I can't do it by myself, you know, of course, but I'm going to keep doing whatever I can do. So I think, you know, people are if you're like any of the other people I've spoken with, you're going to maybe have some questions. I've done some quite controversial work with actors like Lee Pace, who plays me in the film, Felicity Huffman, who played a trans woman in Transamerica, Jared Leto, who played a trans woman in Dallas Fires Club. I've consulted on a lot of television shows, theatrical pieces. I've, you know, hung out with Nicole Kidman if you have any questions about that, and you know, some silly Hollywood stuff. Ask away. That's fun too. If you're curious about the military, any of the political issues or the legal things I've worked on, I work with the Service Members Legal Defense Network on specifically military LGBT issues. And every year I host the Lavender Law Association's National Conference, which has like Phyllis Schlafly and the legal people who are bringing down the Defense of Marriage Act and opening up marriage to everyone in the United States, and you know, the real movers and shakers and legends of the U.S. LGBT plus legal movement. I've just had a lot of adventures. I've been around the world. You know, I'm an acoustic musician as well, if you have any questions about that. I'll just basically open up the floor and let me have it. Ask away. I guess I think back, the people who took me in earliest were like these lesbian airplane mechanics in Alaska. And then after that, the drag and trans showgirl community took me in. And they're a community that gets put down a lot, even I think by the larger LGBT plus community, because they're very out there. You know, they embarrass a lot of people, and a lot of people really want to make it clear, you know, that's not me, I'm not like them, and few people are like them. You know, they're wild and colorful, and I'm kind of that kind of person too. And when I first met them, I saw how brave they were. The drag queens who just go out, you know, they don't care, they're snapping their fingers and throwing their hair around, and a lot of people just hate that. They're like, oh, why can't they just be normal? But in Tennessee in the 90s, that was mind-blowing, and it put it in people's faces that, you know, we're not going to play your game, we're not going to pretend like we don't exist. You know, you're just going to have to step back and let us walk past. And the strength of that really inspired me a lot. You know, I had a mentor. She was an African American, a black drag queen named China, and stunningly beautiful lady, cute and funny guy. And she owned her own house, didn't use drugs or alcohol, and my parents put me out. I actually lived in a park for a while in my car. China, took me in, put me on the couch, said, you're not going to use any drugs or alcohol, and you're going to practice your dance steps, and you're going to do this. And, it was like this mother figure. And that whole group of circus folks, theater people, they took me in. And I just hate to think of them not having the rights that I can sort of cheat and get if I pass, whatever that means, or if I sneak through. Because I don't have to tell people I'm trans, and they might guess, they might not, but I get a lot of privilege because I can pass as a heterosexual white woman, whereas China will never pass as straight. She's African American. She has none of those privileges, and I want all my friends to be with me and have the rights I have, so that's why I do what I do as well.